Welcome to the Rialto Marketing Podcast. Today's episode is a revenue acceleration series interview where we talk to seven-figure B2B service firm owners that are actively trying to grow their business and get to the next level. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly so that you can learn from their experience. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe you must remove your revenue roadblocks to accelerate growth, and marketing shouldn't be difficult. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in today. I am super excited to have John Ragsdale with me from Tap Innovations. John, welcome and thanks for being here.
Awesome. Appreciate you having me on today, Tim. Looking forward to sharing some thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, awesome. I look forward to digging into this with you, man. You've got some great stuff going on at Tap, so I appreciate you sharing that experience so the folks can learn from it. I see what you got an LSU flag behind you there. You're a Tigers fan?
I'm a Tigers fan, bleed purple and gold, graduated from there. My wife graduated from there. I got two boys there right now. Absolutely.
Oh, man. Okay.
Tickets for 30 years. So yes, big fan.
Okay. Yeah. It's in the blood then, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So before we jump into the heart of the interview here in our conversation, I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions if you're ready to jump in with both feet.
Let's go.
Okay. Very quickly, what do you do? How long have you been doing it?
Let's see. I'm the CEO of Tap Innovations. We are an integrations app analytics company. Founded the company in 2017, really just out of ideas and things that I had been doing as a CIO. I've been in IT about 30 years, CIO the last 15. And what I was doing as a CIO was finding the gaps in between company systems, HR system and finance system and, point of sale system, you name it. And as a CIO, I was basically providing the digital glue between those systems. And I saw those patterns and finally decided, along with a business partner of mine, he and I have been working together about 18 years, started the company 2017, ran it as a side hustle, if you will.
Yeah.
Hard to step away. But in 2022, we got it big enough and now I'm full-time in Tap.
So you guys, at a base level, you guys provide software that helps fill gaps between the various systems that a company might be using.
100%. In fact, most people, and we service the mid-market, most people try to solve those gaps with what we call manual efforts and spreadsheets. Now, if you think about the acronym for that, that spells MESS or MESS, so manual effort spreadsheets. And so we are all about eliminating those messes with our digital tools.
Okay, got it. Awesome. So what's the most important lesson you've learned in running the business so far?
I would say, and this is a lesson I actually learned from my son's baseball coach many years ago. He taught them, he said, all right, boys, when you're out there on the baseball field, you want to stay even keeled. Yeah, it's great if you get a hit. Yeah, it's great if you hit a home run. But just know that, in baseball, 70, 80% of the time, you're going to fail. And so you got to be prepared for that. So yes, you can get up a little bit for the good times, but when the bad times hit, stay even keeled, right? Don't get down, stay right there in the middle. And I took that same lesson and apply it to business.
Yeah, I like that one. One of the ones that similar that I remind myself all the time is this too shall pass, right? And that's relevant for good and bad, right? When things are good, like it's gonna pass, and when they're bad, it's gonna pass too, right? Like we just need to keep working through doing what we need to do. So
you're absolutely right.
I really like that one. The other thing too is we all get upset and frustrated sometimes, but it's never a great place to make decisions from or communicate with people from that place. So yeah, very good one. We all know growing a business is hard, and there's ups and downs. Do you have any kind of mantra or motivational saying that you say to yourself or share with the team to push through those times?
I do. I say this often. I learned this from a mentor many years ago when I was a CIO. But again, especially in the world of technology. But the saying goes like this: "Don't let perfect get in the way of progress." Now that's really challenging for me, right? Because I'm a perfectionist, at heart, and I've always been that way. I like things to be in order, and I like to have structure. But you can't let being perfect stop you from making progress. And we
Yeah.
talk about it all the time. Hey, you know what? It's kind of the 80-20 rule. If you're 80% there, yeah, think through it, plan for it, go, right? Okay to make
Yeah.
mistakes along the way, we'll tweak, but don't let perfect get in the way of progress.
Done is better than perfect.
Absolutely.
Well, and the thing too is, as we take action, we learn from it, and what we put out there continues to get better and better and
It
better.
does. Absolutely.
So I love it. So now I know with TAP, you've experienced some pretty impressive growth, and you've landed on the Inc. 5000 list. Congratulations for that,
Thank
by
you.
the way. Um, what key strategies or decisions do you think contributed most to your success over the past few years?
Yeah, a couple of them. And I'll say first, yeah, I'm a technology guy. I've been in technology, like I said, 30 years and programmed and did all of that. But I'm really primarily a people person. And so the number one thing probably that has made a difference, as we've grown TAP is our culture. And I really talk about our culture in a couple of different ways. One is a set of core values that I developed, gosh, about 24 years ago now: ownership, thoroughness, communication, and closure. And we literally talk about those aspects of what we do as a team, from the staff person to the leader all the time. And we bring up examples, hey, did we do a great job of ownership, or did we do a good job of communication or not, right? It's okay to talk about the situations where we didn't do well. So that's one piece. We also have a component called the circle of growth. And if you think about the circle of growth, it's a circle. Think about a clock. At the top of the circle is our team members, right? We put our team members number one priority in a position for success. If we do that well, they'll deliver great client satisfaction, which is at 3 o'clock. And clients, as a result, will pay us revenue. That's at 6 o'clock. And then we derive profits at 9 o'clock. We reinvest a portion of the profits back in team members, becomes a circle of growth. Now, I didn't come up with that. A good mentor of mine, Paul Spiegelman, came up with that, but really core to what we do. And then we have a set of team member expectations where we go deeper, and they range from professionalism to respect to making meetings matter, to simple things like always having a pen, paper device for your ideas, tasks, and suggestions. But I really focus on the culture. Another key piece that was really influential in helping me grow was a business coach early on, right? I partnered with Action Coach, great franchise
Yep.
model, and really helped me understand what I didn't know, in terms of how to get a company from scratch, nothing, to where we are today. I also have to give props to my business partner. His name is Ryman Allam. He and I have worked together since 2006. Just one of those people that you always want on your team. He's followed me in my career, and for 18 years we've been working together. We formed the company together, and it's really, we see things eye to eye. We're both strong in our faith, and so it's just really critical in our success. Great to have somebody else there, that you're not alone. And then
Yeah.
lastly, we'll talk about it in a minute, strategic partnerships.
Okay.
Really critical to our growth.
So I want to pull a couple things out here because there was a lot of good stuff in there, and we're going to dig into strategic partnerships, like you said, in a minute here. But your values, very important. I'm assuming those values helped you. Leading with those helped you attract people that shared those same values.
A
Um,
100%.
it sounds too that like you guys are really consistent about talking about the values, right? It's one thing to have values, but if we don't talk about them and kind of gently and relentlessly beat that drum, they're easy to overlook, right?
Yeah, they're just something on the wall or whatever. No, we weave them into everything that we do. And as an example, this morning we had our end of third quarter TAP town hall. and we invite the entire company, and we've got about 100 or so resources in about 2 or 3 different countries. So everybody joins in on a Teams call. And the first thing that I cover is this culture component. Now I re-review what it is, but then I get the people to share examples. And I just literally go around the room or the screen and say, hey, I want you to share a TAP culture example over the last quarter or the last week or whatever comes to your mind, right? And it ends
Yeah.
up being kind of a kudos, but I really challenge my team to say, hey, great to have a kudos, but pinpoint, was it ownership? Was it communication? Was it closure? What was it in our culture that really resonated with that person? And we do that in other meetings, but that was an example this morning.
Yeah. The other thing that about values, there was a quote, and I can't remember where I got this from, but it says when your values are clear, your decisions are easy, and that has always resonated with me because it's like, hey, if I'm having a difficult time making a decision, I always go back to my values, and it is so true. Like the choice you need to make becomes very simple at that point.
It does, and again, I've and we just had a number of folks that have come on our team in the last quarter, and some of the first things that I teach them, hey, this is our culture. I want you to understand this. I want you to be a part of it, and and people really appreciate it. And they're
Yeah.
like, wow, this is a breath of fresh air, right? That you really pay attention to that. And when I kind of look at it, I said, hey, I don't want to be caught up on people culture issues all the time, because if you do, then you're spending time on that and not delivering for clients, etc. We want the culture stuff to be just ingrained in our DNA, right? Just
Yeah.
standard stuff. And not to say that we don't have issues, but if you can minimize that, then you can just be a more highly productive team.
Yeah. Okay. And the circle of growth. I love this. I've never heard of this. I want to make sure I got this right, so that people watching and listening can get this right. So you've got team, client satisfaction, revenue, profits, right? And it's just this. It just continues to circle through.
Just like a clockwise, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it.
And it's a little bit different, right? And some people put clients at the top. We put team members, and now if you do it right, then clients will be wildly satisfied, right? Because you align
Yeah.
your team with the goals and delivering solutions.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense, right? You hire the right team, you can deliver top-notch client satisfaction. That continues to drive revenue, which then feeds profit, and it's just this cycle. So I love that. I've never heard anybody talk about that. So thank you for that. So John, you had touched on strategic partnerships. Let's dig into that a little bit. How did you first identify partnerships as a key growth strategy, and what advice would you give other businesses looking to build similar alliances there?
It's great question. First, I call it our secret lead gen sauce.
Okay,
Right?
cool.
Because it is so powerful. And I'll tell you the story how we got into it, right? So this was 2020, right? Literally the middle of the pandemic in August of 2020. We were challenged. We weren't making a whole lot of money. Wasn't sure we were going to survive. Just like everybody else in that time. But I had a friend who was a top salesperson for a company called Paycor HR software. And
Yeah.
he was going to market with his software. And one of his challenges as a salesperson was this particular client needed an integration with Paycor to their learning management system. And literally, he was going to lose the deal in the next 2 weeks because their internal team couldn't do it, and he just didn't have a way. That's not their bread and butter. Their bread and butter is HR software. And so he came to me and he said, John, I know you do this. I know you're a small company, but can you help me win this deal? And we went back and forth. And at first, Paycor was like, too small, not going to let him do it. And I said, well, I'll do it for free, and I'll do it in 2 weeks. And they said, well, we're going to lose a deal anyway, so go ahead. So we took a chance. We won that deal. We built it in 2 weeks. And then after that, this one sales guy said, well, if you did that for me here, How about you do it over here too? And then word of mouth, right,
Yeah.
amongst the Paycor sellers just grew. And it was, hey, we got more referrals. And he just kept saying, hey, you need to call TAP, because they looked at him. He was $1 million seller. And they were like, how did you win that deal? How are you doing this? And he said, well, TAP is helping me. And so that started it. Fast forward a year, I remember this. Fast forward a year, we got invited to meet the Paycor CRO, and big meeting, and I was prepared and had all this, slides and ready to present the great things about TAP. We got in the meeting. Well, their SVP, who was a big proponent of TAP, who had kind of set up the meeting, when we got in there, he started doing all the talking. He started telling the CRO, his boss, all the great things about TAP and how TAP's
Yeah.
helped win. I didn't have to say anything. It was the best sales pitch that I never delivered.
Yeah.
And he was sold. In fact, he even brought up a deal in the middle of the meeting and said, well, how about this deal? Can you help us win it? And 2 days later, we helped him win it. So, it just kind of sold us on the model. Now, we've since expanded it and said, wow, we could do this with Paycor, and we've expanded it a lot, right? I meet with them on a weekly basis. I present all of our metrics in terms of referrals and how are we doing with sales, and we've developed a Paycor newsletter to really promote the salespeople, right? Yes, I'm selling my services to clients, but I'm really selling my services to the Paycor seller. I
Yeah.
want to help each of them make the $1 Million Club, make the President's Club, go on their trip. That's my goal, and I use that to my advantage. So we've taken that model, and now we're applying it to Paychecks and Paylocity
Yeah.
and other companies, even some point of sale companies. If they're out there selling their software, they need us to help them win a lot of deals.
Yeah. Do you with referrals like that, are they are they starting to generate consistent business for you?
Absolutely. Cut Paycor as an example. Now, I'll
Yeah.
use Paycor as the example because they're the most mature out of all of our partnerships. But literally, they bring 30 referrals per month,
Yeah.
average for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Really consistent. Now, we have to work at it. We have all sorts of communication going to all of their sellers. Hey, here's the new product in TAP. Hey, you got any new deals, right? We're constantly doing that. And
Yeah.
they have turnover on their team. So, new people come in, we got to educate them on TAP. We take it very seriously daily basis to keep that number high.
Yeah.
Um, the others we're just developing. I'll say Paychecks is probably 5 to 7 referrals per month. Paylocity maybe about 9 or 10. And so we are just constantly using that same model to communicate. I'll give you an example. We sent out an email a week ago, and we basically send out a monthly thank you email to any seller, whether they're Paycor or not. A thank you. Hey, thank you for thinking about TAP, and here's a little information on TAP. Well, one of the managers saw it, said, oh, wow, this is interesting. Called one of our sales execs and said, hey, I want you to come talk to 60 of my salespeople. And we were like, and we do that a lot. And so that meeting was this morning. So it's that constant communication. And
Yeah.
again, we flip it to be less about, hey, look what TAP can do. It's really about, hey, how can I help you win more deals?
Yeah.
Because when I look at the value in the strategic partnerships, we kind of outline the few value points. One, we help you close deals. Two, there's a speed to it. We're really nimble and quick. If you have a deal you don't want to talk about, we'll talk about it today. We'll get started in the next couple of days. We can move that quickly so they can close deals faster and recognize the revenue faster, right?
Yeah.
They want to start recognizing their ongoing revenues. So that's one. It becomes a stickier software. Again, we're the digital glue between their system and
Yeah.
other systems. The more you plug in there, the harder it is to get off of Paycor or Paychecks or whatever software. So
Yeah.
stickier. We have a lot of repeatable solutions, so they can actually go to market. As an example, one of the challenging integrations is integrating an HR system with a point of sale system in restaurants or retail, and in particular with a company called Toast. Toast is
Yep.
the 800-pound gorilla in the point of sale. Well, we've done that before, and so now the Paycors and Paycheck, they use that to their advantage. And hey, restaurant group, we sell your here's our HR software. We've got an integration to Toast or Aloha or whatever, so that becomes a selling point to them. The other thing is happier salespeople. Again, they
Yeah.
make their President's Club, they make the $1 Million Club, and then lastly, happy customers. We have a 4.8 out of 5 client sat rating. We have a 95% response rate from our clients. We deliver amazing client satisfaction. It's a really big thing on my side. We're asking the questions on a regular basis to our clients. So they're happy with us, which means they're going to be happy with, Paycor, Paychecks, or Paylocity or whatever.
Yeah. Do you, there's so much good stuff in here. First thing I want to ask you, when you did that initial project free for Paychecks or Paycor, do you remember how much time you had in that to complete that?
It's a good question. I'll tell you this too, right? Just to kind of go way back. I mean, I remember it was August of 2020. I think I had $5,000 in our bank account. I mean, it was, so we were a $150,000 company that year, but I was bleeding money.
Yeah.
So it was a really hard decision to say, I'm going to do that for free and with my business partner. We had done things like that before. Again, as a CIO, my business partner and I had been doing this, so it wasn't a new thing to do. We had expertise. We just didn't have the reps at it, and didn't have the client list that I have today. Again, we did it. We built the solution in 2 weeks. Again, what we were doing, I'll give you the company. It's our customer, Urban Air. They're a trampoline adventure park. They've got, if you've ever seen those, and again, you think about the pandemic, they have 150 stores, 10,000 employees, and they needed their HR system to be connected to their learning management system, their training system, because they had all these new protocols of clean this, sanitize this, and they didn't want to have to manually do that in the learning management system. So we just automated. Somebody gets hired, account goes to the learning management, somebody is terminated, we terminate it. So it was this integration between the two systems, and it flows today, right? That integration literally runs every hour, 24/7. We built that in a couple of weeks, and again, that was like candy to Paycor. They were like, "Wow, you did it in how long?" And of course, I told them, I said, "I'm not going to do anything else for free. That was it." But that one got them started and got them hooked.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an interesting example because, it's nothing new. There's all kinds of people that say, oh, you should, when you're just getting started or what, it's okay to do things for free. The thing that's interesting about this situation, I think, is a lot of times when people get things for free, they tend to not value it. But in this case, it was slightly different because you were really doing this for the referral partner,
right?
Not necessarily the end client. And
you're exactly
by
right.
doing that, it helped them realize, like, oh my gosh. Well, first off, they're not the ones paying for it anyways. They're using what you're doing to get more deals, and you help them get the deal, and they're like, oh my gosh, what they said is actually true. They can help us win more deals. Why would we not then refer TAP?
Absolutely.
And so, man, I think you made a really strong strategic decision there. And it paid off.
Right.
And the other thing that I want to pull out of this too is with the way your referral partnerships are set up, like referrals are a great way to build business. A lot of people hit ceilings with them because they just can't generate any more of them. They're not predictable.
Right.
But in your case, they are more predictable because of the types of referral partners that you're calling on.
Exactly.
And by how you approach it. Like, you have a very set process and framework that you're following to build these referral partner relationships. And it's gotten to a place where you can now know, like, hey, these guys are sending us 30 leads a month.
Yeah.
That's a very strong place to be.
It is. I tell my team when we're, literally we just, we're uncovering some new partnerships, and, with a company called R365, they're in that point of sale. So literally in the last week, we've gotten our first conversations. But I tell my team, I said, when you call these folks, again, yes, we can solve the technical challenges for their clients, but appeal to them. And I'm a big fan of Donald Miller. If you're familiar with Donald Miller,
Yep.
story brand selling, tell stories. I said, I've got 100 stories of a seller, doesn't matter the company, calling us and saying, hey, I am going to lose this deal unless I get this integration. Or, hey, if I make this deal, I'm going to make President's Club and I get to go to blah, 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 blah. Tap, can you help? I've got 100 of those stories. And so, I tell them, hey, actually tell the story, right? Say, hey, you know what? We were just working with this seller, and one of the stories was there's a 200 location T-Mobile retail outfit out in the West Coast. They needed an integration to their specific background check software. Paycor didn't have that integration, and this was a $600,000 deal for Paycor, and the company was going to walk unless we built the integration. We built the integration. This was like June of last year. He won the deal, and he instantly went to $1 Million Club, and he made the President's Club, and he was like so happy, right?
Yeah.
He'll yell from the mountaintops about Tap all day long.
You've brought out something really important from a messaging standpoint that a lot of businesses overlook, right? It's not about us, it's about the client. And in this case, it's about the referral partner.
Yep.
And what, like you said, I'm a big proponent of StoryBrand. I think they've done a really good job of making messaging easier to understand. But, at a base level, what you're doing with your messaging is focusing on the problems that your referral partners have and don't want,
yep,
and the results that they want and don't have.
Yep.
And that is what gets them to pay attention to how you can actually help them and work with them. And
absolutely,
such a key distinction, because even the end consumer isn't buying Tap for the technology. They're buying the end business outcome that you help them achieve.
And that's really it. I mean, you nailed it. And I just got finished training my new sales team. And when I say, hey, lead with the business problem, they start talking about the technical aspects of, HR system that points out, no, that's not the business problem. The business problem. So for an example, if it's a restaurant group, the business problem is, hey, you've got a restaurant owner on a Friday night, has to stay up late and managing employees and overtime and tip calculations, and they want to be home and they're frustrated. That's the business problem. Now, behind it, the reason there's a business problem because their systems don't talk, but talk about the business problem that they're feeling, right? The emotional. So it's trying to really understand that and then, get into that conversation.
So along the messaging side of things, what you do is it can get pretty technical, right? And as we talked about, your referral partners and the end client, like, most of them don't care about the tech. They just want the problem solved.
I agree.
And marketing your services directly to the end customer, can be challenging. How have you approached simplifying that message, and what's worked and what hasn't in terms of resonating with those potential clients?
And you are right. It is difficult, right? Because what we do is not common knowledge. It's like integrations. What is that? I don't understand that. That's just I can't jump in and start talking to an in-person there. So again, you got to start with the problem and the true business problem. So I won't say we've been wildly successful, but over the last 6 or 7 months, here's what we've worked on, and there's a couple of things that seem to be bubbling up. But in essence, real similar to what I was just describing. Let's really truly understand the end business customer and what their problems are. Now, today we know a lot of what they are, but you can also go into ChatGPT and Copilot
Yeah.
or pick your AI and say, hey, what are the core business problems? So you can at least be educated when you're talking to these folks. But as an example, we have a couple of campaigns reaching out to restaurant groups. Right, we're really strong with restaurant groups. Their core challenge, technical challenges, integrating HR to point of sale and point of sale back to HR. That's the technical challenge. But the frustrating is hey, you've got multiple locations, you've got hundreds of employees, some that are going back and forth, and you're just trying to manage those, and you've got time and tip and overtime. That all is really frustrating, right? So
Yeah.
we lead with that, whether it's an email or in LinkedIn or whether we're making a phone call. That's what we lead with. Now, the other thing that we do, if we're talking to and so we lead with that problem and kind of get them, yeah, I got that problem. Then we quickly tell a story of a similar situation as close to them as possible.
Mm-hmm.
If I can find I'm talking to someone, interesting example. I was just emailing a restaurant group in Aruba. Now, that's pretty unique, but it caught their eye with that business problem. Well, I leaned in with a story. I have one of my customers is based in New York, but he's got restaurants around the world in Dubai and London. And so anyway, I have a link to that customer success on my website. So I sent that, right? Hey, here's the problem. Yes, I have the problem. Okay, here's a story that's similar to you, right? Kind of international
Yeah.
restaurant. And here's how we solved that. Now, I don't go into too much detail. I just kind of said, hey, let's have the and we solved it, right? And if you'd like to learn more, let's schedule some time. So lead with the problem, tell a short little story that's really relevant to them. And the other example I tell folks, my sales team said, hey, if I get an email and somebody says in that email, hey, we've solved problems for tech CIOs in North Texas, I'm probably going to pay attention to that because I'm a tech CEO
Yeah.
and North Texas. Maybe I said CIO, CEO, either one, but I'm going to pay attention to it. So we try to find those relevant stories, business problem story, and then book a meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it, man. So looking ahead, what are the key priorities for you over the next few years, and how are you gonna drive growth?
Yeah, no, great question. We've got some lofty goals, right? We've grown from 3-4 years ago, we were a $150,000 company, and now we're a $3 million company. So some good growth. We don't have outside investors, so we've kind of spent our own dollars and own time and our own dime, if you will.
Yeah.
But our goal in the next 5 years is to go from 3 million to 25 million. Big jump. We also want 50% recurring revenue, right? Everybody loves recurring revenue. We're about 21% today, but we want to be to 50 plus. So that's a goal for us. And then we want to be in that 20% EBITDA range, right? So those are our goals. Now, how are we going to get there? Well, we've really narrowed down our focus and things that we're good at. So you've heard me talk about the integrations around HR, payroll, human capital management systems. We're just really good at that. And whether
Yeah.
it's employee data or time, tip, benefits, anything that's in that space, we can integrate with. Now, the great thing is integrations, there's two sides. So you integrate on one side and then you integrate to something else. CRM, financial, point of sale, ERP, we've done all of that. And so what we're doing now is we want more Paycors, right? We want to get paychecks to the level of Paycor. Paylocity to the level of Paycor, and 5, 6, 7 more of those. We're even kind of going into the, I'll say, mid-market payroll. There's some iSolved resellers that we've just signed some deals with, so we're expanding in that market.
Yeah.
But again, there's other things, and so now on the other side, we're going to point of sale
Okay.
sellers,
Yeah.
right? So we're talking to Toast and Aloha and Crunch Time and 7 Shifts and blah 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 blah. We just started a conversation in the ERP world because we've integrated a few of those. So Odoo and Acumatica and some others. So anything in and around that is, top priority. I want
Yeah.
5 or 6 Paycors. The next area is around restaurants, integrations, and analytics, and retail, because it's a similar model. We're really good at that and just taking that to the next level in about 10 or so metro areas around the country or world. Right, I mentioned Aruba because we can do it with any company. Lastly, one of the things that we're also really good at is custom apps for mid-market companies. Now, I don't want to compete with Accenture or Deloitte, right? They only focus on the billion-dollar companies, but mid-market that might be 20 million to 900 million is our sweet spot.
Yeah.
And why are we different than the average, custom app developer? Because we really understand the business, right? We come in, we understand workflows, we make recommendations around workflows. Yeah, we got great developers, but we become a great team and partner for these companies who feel like they've basically outgrown their out of the box system. And for them to grow, they need something custom. And so we come in, we help them with that, and then we partner for life. Hey, you build the system, we want a new phase, a new phase, a new phase. We support it, monthly recurring revenue. That becomes
Yeah.
a good model. Gosh, we probably built 15 custom apps over the last 2 years, multiple industries, construction. Probably the most unique one was an underwater sea construction staffing company. They do, business around the world. They needed a custom app to help manage their staff and their projects across the world. So we are building a custom app for them.
For them. Yeah. I love the focus, right? Honing in on what you're good at, right? Because if we can do the things that we're good at day in, day out, business is simpler. If things become more profitable, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
you know, I I'm assuming, there, correct me if I'm wrong, there's obviously some proprietary things that you're doing when you do things for specific clients, but there's also things that you're doing that you can then transfer over to other projects, right? And you're not reinventing the wheel
You're
every single time.
You're exactly right. In fact, I call it our digital toolbox, right?
Okay.
And I like to use the analogy of like a Home Depot or Lowe's. So you go into one of those stores, there's thousands of tools. Um, Somewhere in there, I'm sure there are tools that Home Depot makes. Okay, great. And we do the same. Hey, we make our own tools. We'll put them in the box. I don't limit it to just our tools though. Just like Home Depot or Lowe's, there's lots of other tools around the world. Technology changes fast. But to your point, we are really big on using repeatable solutions and components in our digital
Yeah.
toolbox. Really, really effective that way.
Yeah. I love it. John, thank you for taking the time. I want to ask you one last question before we wrap it up, which is, knowing what you know now, anything you would do differently?
That's a great question, right? Hindsight, 2020, all this kind of stuff. I would actually answer it like this. I'm not sure that I would do it differently. I kind of look back at all the things that I've gone through to be where we are as a business, and each of those was super valuable from a learning standpoint, from a growth standpoint, right? You always wish, gosh, I wish we were, a $3 million company right when we started. I wouldn't have known what to do. So the answer is kind of, I don't know that I would do it differently. I think
Yeah.
we've made some good choices, made mistakes, but even in the mistakes, we learn from them, and they have made us better because of it.
Yeah. Where can people learn more about you if they want to connect?
Absolutely. Our website is www.tap, TAPINNOV, as in Victor, A wealth of information out there. There's a tab at the top called Customer Successes. You can see 300 of the customer successes that we've delivered. Great and wealth of information out there.
Awesome. So we'll make sure those go in the show notes. If you want to connect with John, I'd certainly encourage you to do so. Head on over to tapinov.com. John, thank you. Those of you that are watching, listening, appreciate you doing as well. Appreciate you as well. And hopefully you got something out of this. I just love some of the things that you guys are doing from a strategic partnership standpoint and how you're approaching it. I think there's a ton of things that people can learn from that. If you guys want to connect with us, you can do that over at rialtomarketing.com. The other tool I've got for you is over at revenueroadblockscorecard.com. So if you want to know which of the 9 roadblocks are slowing down your growth, you can do that there. It takes less than 5 minutes. So take advantage of that. And until next time, take care.
Awesome.